Hi. There were already two questions. One was about who controls it, and now we all know it's you. And
just a joke.
I know. And the other one about people panicking as soon as they notice that Wikipedia is offline, even for a few seconds. So I have two questions related to that. First of all, how open are you to someone, doesn't matter whether it's a non-profit organization or a company, coming to you and saying in a very practical manner, we want all the terabytes of data that you have and we want to mirror them. And that's the first question. And then the second question is, what is your backup plan? In case Wikimedia Foundation goes, how does the knowledge accumulated by millions of people over now more than 10 years survive?
Okay. These are very good questions. So the first question, so everything in Wikipedia is freely licensed, and we make available database dumps, so anyone can come and download the database and store it somewhere safely. I think, though, there's a problem with English Wikipedia. I haven't looked lately, but it's got to be so large that for technical reasons they've been unable to successfully dump the database in a while. They have backups, of course, but we haven't been able to make a publicly accessible download, so this is not a good situation. But I don't know. I think they're going to resolve it soon. I hope so. In terms of the backup plan, in case the Wikimedia Foundation were to go poof, I think there's a few key elements about this. First of all, all of the content is under a free license. So therefore, anyone in this room has the right to take a copy of Wikipedia and start your own backup, your own mirror, and start competing with us if you want to. All these kinds of things are perfectly acceptable and are fine. So what I really think is happened is that, let's imagine a scenario where if the Wikimedia Foundation either does something horrible and goes crazy, or gets sued and loses and goes out of business, and whoever the new owner is starts doing bad things. In a situation like this, the community would leave, and I think unless I was personally somehow the bad guy, and then the community would not like me, but I would try very hard to lead that next movement to say, hey everybody, these horrible people sued the Wikimedia Foundation, they shut down Wikipedia, although they wouldn't shut it down, they would just put ads on it, I think. But they've done this bad thing that we don't agree with. We're a community, we don't belong to anyone. The law can't touch the community. If we want to all go play somewhere else, we'll all go play somewhere else. So obviously it wouldn't go smoothly. But I think there's very little chance of us losing all of Wikipedia because it's freely licensed. It's available, it's out there. And if nobody else, I think some of our developers have a backup of everything. So it should be fine.
Hello.
Hello.
I have no specific question for that. I just want to hear your thoughts about user-generated content. As you showed in the presentation, most websites, the content of most websites is user-generated, and because internet is becoming the biggest medium, I mean, like bigger than television and radio and so on, the content of all media will be user-generated. What are the positive and negative sides of this?
So I actually don't think we'll end up having all kinds of information be user-generated. And I base this on watching the trends that we see. We have a lot of interest that people have in citizen journalism, in consumer-generated news, for example, and yet so far the end results that we're seeing out of that process, they don't cover all kinds of news, and they don't seem to be generating the same thing that we expect from traditional journalism, although aspects of it are perfectly fabulous, of course. So one of the things that I always say is that everybody tells jokes, but we still have professional comedians. And I think that just as if everyone is able to contribute some media, that doesn't mean that we won't have the same traditional professional media as well, although they'll be heavily impacted. So positives and negatives. I think right now one of the negatives that I'm very concerned about that is really not so much a function of user-generated content. It's a function of the economic crisis on the one hand, but also on the disaggregation of advertising from content. A huge amount of advertising money is going into direct click marketing on Google, for example. So people type a search, they click and they go buy something, and less advertising is going to the newspapers. What does this mean? And the thing that I'm concerned about is less money for journalists, less journalism. This is bad for free societies. I mean, somebody's got to watch the government because if you leave them alone for 5 minutes, they've stolen the farm. So, so we have to have strong institutions of journalism. Yes, citizens can play a big role in helping with this process, but I don't think that's everything. And so I don't know. I don't know the exact answer. I hope that I'm confident we'll find ways to fund journalism because it's so important to the world. But I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I think we'll see a lot of interesting changes in the next 5 years.
Hi, my name is Adrian from Crypto Weekly. I know you're a fan of Iran's books. So do you support government bailouts?
Ooh, interesting question. I guess in general, I would say I don't support government bailouts. But I think it's a very, very complicated question in the current situation. Because we don't have really completely free markets anyway, there's so much government interference left and right that it's really hard to figure out what's going on and who's responsible for what. And I think it's a really, really bad thing if the economies collapse. I think, like lots of people, I'm very, very unhappy when I see, in my company at Wikipedia, when we saw the economy start to turn bad, and we decided we needed to lay off a few people because advertising revenues were way down. Fortunately, we only had to let a few people go, but I said, as the founder of the company, that I'm cutting my salary first. I went from my salary to $1 a year because I said, as a leader of the company, I have to take the pain first. And so I have a very personal anger that I feel when I see some bank that's collapsed or on the edge of collapse and they're getting $30 billion of bailout money and paying bonuses. Are you kidding me? You don't get a bonus when you destroy your company. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm nervous about the situation, and not just having to be philosophical. I think whether you support the bailout or you don't support the bailout and all the things that are going on, I think we should all be very nervous that all around the world, but I guess the U.S. especially, they're spending trillions of dollars in new ways. This money is flowing out, and I don't think anybody has a clue where it's all going. And it doesn't matter whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea. The thing that I think we should all be really insisting on is transparency, openness, access to data, particularly at a time when, as I said, there's a crisis in journalism. So when you see CNN with fewer reporters than they had 3 years ago, at the same time as $1 trillion being spent on God knows what, this is a concern. So I've been pushing. Fortunately, I think the Obama administration gets it. They've heard of Wikipedia. They're aware there are people on the internet, and they've been very receptive to the idea that they should be publishing as much data as they can. And this is an area where I do think citizen journalism has a real chance of helping. There are programmers out there who will write algorithms to go through the data sets and find interesting things. There are bloggers who will pore over it endlessly to find out what's going on. And traditional journalism would never have enough people and skills to do that. What they can do is, ordinary people will find something in the data, the New York Times will publish it and make everybody aware of it. Without that kind of oversight, let's all be quite clear, somebody's going to be stealing billions of dollars. It's just a fact, but hopefully we can keep it to a minimum.